Wounds represent strife, damage to flesh or ethics of a body, which means a kingdom. Blood, which means morals, leaves the wound. Blood congeals or goes hard. Salt, which means sorrow, hurts the wounds. Bandage a wound with cloth or accounts to stop the bleeding, leaves a scar in the skin, which means integrity. Proverbs 26:20. Where no wood is, or where no life is, there the fire or desire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. The words of the talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly, or instincts. Luke 10:34, and went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil, which means grace, and wine, which means loving soul. A field represents the world. Grass represents people. Psalms 103:15. As for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flourisheth. 1 Peter 1:24. For all flesh is as grass. A mountain represents a large kingdom or country. Ice or oppressive souls forms on the peak of mountains. Joshua 11:16. So Joshua took all that land, the hills, and all the south country, and all the lands of Goshen, and the valley, and the plain, and the mountain of Israel. Hill represents a small kingdom or city. Psalms 2:6. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. A valley represents a slum. Rivers, or soul's destiny or their path, runs down valleys. Isaiah 44. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. River represents destiny, a soul's path through life. A stream of water with a current confined within a bed. Rivers can flow over either rock, which means law, stones, which mean doctrines, sand, which means broken laws, or mud, which means inequity. They lead to the sea, inlands to lakes, and underground. Rivers cut down mountains or kingdoms to create a wide, flat valley to settle. Genesis 41:2. Now this is referring to a dream. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kin and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. Psalms 36:8. They shall be abundantly satisfied with the fatness of thy house, and thou shalt make them drink of the river of thy pleasures. A lake represents fate, the end of a soul's path. Revelation 20:15. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake, or fate, of fire, which means desire. A fountain represents divine destiny, souls rising up to heaven. John 4:14. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The sea represents sorrowful souls, or salt water. Salt makes you thirsty for water. Sea water kills all plant and animal life when used in excess. The sea rests on sand, or broken laws. James 3:12. Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh. Waves represent war. Sorrowful souls in conflict. It stirs up sand, or broken laws. From 2 Samuel 22:5. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. Jeremiah 31:35. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Remember that Jesus said that he did not come to create peace. Rather, he came by a sword. He came to divide the righteous from the unrighteous. A desert represents desolation, sand, which represents broken laws, and no water or souls. Jeremiah 2:6. Where is the Lord that brought us out of the land of Egypt and led us through the wilderness, through a land of deserts and of pits? Throughout the Bible, people are associated with animals. Animals are used to describe the spiritual nature of people. A lamb represents an innocent Christian. Meek drinks sheep's milk or Christian glory. From Revelation 17:14, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings. Jeremiah 51:40, I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter. Sheep represents a Christian. It is meek and it produces wool or purifying character. Eats or accepts grass or people. Jeremiah 50:6, my people have been lost sheep, their shepherds have caused them to go astray. From Psalms 95:7, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. A shepherd represents a Christian leader, guiding and caring. Psalms 23:1, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. 1 Kings 22:17, and he said, I saw all of Israel scattered upon the hills, as sheep that have not a shepherd. Cow represents an adulterator, produces large amounts of cow milk or false glory, also produces large amounts of gas. From Genesis 3:14, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle. Hosea 8:5, thy calf of Samaria has cast thee off, my anger is kindled against them. How long will it be ere they attain to innocency? The workman made it, therefore it is not God, but the calf of Samaria shall be broken in pieces. Isaiah 65:25, and the lion, or king, shall eat straw, which means unfruitful people, like the bullock, which means adulterator. A goat represents a sinner. It eats nearly anything, weeds, and even tin cans. Billy Goat and Bootstrap Bill might ring a bell. Matthew 25:32, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as the shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Samael, Apollyon, Thor, Pan, Azazel are all associated with goats, or sinners. Zechariah 10:3, my anger was kindled against the shepherds, and I punished the goats, for the Lord of hosts has visited his flock the house of Judah, and has made them as his goodly horse, or warrior, in the battle. Proverbs 27:26, the lambs are for thy clothing, and the goats are the price of the field, or world. Psalms 104:18, the high hills or cities are a refuge for wild goats, and the rocks for the cunies. Hebrews 9:12, neither by the blood or morals of goats and calves, which means sinners and idolaters, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. Hebrews 10:4, for it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. When you learn this symbolic language, it becomes perfectly clear that God in the Old Testament was being symbolic and not literal when he asked for animal sacrifices. He was asking for the abandonment of animal natures. So to sacrifice a goat is to give up the blood and flesh of it, or the morals and ethics of a sinner. A swine represents an abominable person. When pigs fly comes to mind, bathes in mud or iniquity. Leviticus 11:7, and the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Matthew 7:6, give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet in mud, and turn again and rend you. A camel represents a rich person, has a hump of fat or riches on its back, or attitude, walks on sand, which means broken laws, kneels down to be loaded, and is at home in the desert. From Matthew 19:24, and again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God.